no woman at all, or two. In the third place, I know perfectly well whom she'll place me next to tonight. She'll place me next to Mary Farquhar! I was flirts with her own husband across the table. It's not very pleasant. It's not even decent. It's the sort of thing that's enormously on the increase. The amount of women in London who flirt with their own husbands in public is perfectly scandalous. It looks so bad. It is simply washing one's clean linen in public. Besides, now that I know that you're a natural and confirmed bummerist, I naturally want to talk to you about bummering. I want to tell you the rules.
I'm not a bummerist at all. If Gwendolyn accepts me, I'm going to kill my brother. Indeed, I think I'll kill him in any case. Cicely is a bit too much interested in him. And I advise you to do the same with your that invalid friend of yours with that absurd name.
Nothing would induce me to part with Bunbury, and if you ever get married, which seems to be extremely problematic, you'll be very glad to know Bunbury. A man who marries without knowing Bunbury has a very tedious time of it.
I married Gwendolyn, and she's the only girl I ever saw in my life that I would marry. I certainly don't want to know Bunbury.
Then your wife will. You don't seem to realize, my dear fellow, that in married life, 3 is company, 2 is none. That must be Aunt Augusta and Gwendolyn. Now, if I can get her out of the way for 10 minutes, so that you may have the opportunity of proposing to Gwendolyn, might I dine with you tonight at the Carters?
I suppose so, if you want to.
Yes, but you must be serious about it. I hate people not serious about meals. It is so shallow of them.
Lady Bracknell and Miss Fairfax. Well, dear Algernon, I hope you are behaving well.
I'm feeling very well, Aunt Augusta.
That's not quite the same thing. In fact, the two rarely go together. Good afternoon, Mr. Worthing. How do you do?
Dear me, you are smart. I am always smart, aren't I, Mr. Worthing?
You are quite perfect, Miss Fairfax.
Oh, I hope I am not that. There is absolutely no room for developments. And I intend to develop in many directions.
I'm sorry if we are a little late, Algernon, but I was obliged to call on dear Lady Harbury. I hadn't been there since her poor husband's death. Never saw a woman so altered. She looked quite 20 years younger. I'll have a cup of tea and one of those nice cucumber sandwiches you promised me.
Good heavens, lady! Why the no cucumber sandwiches? I ordered them specially.
There were no cucumbers in the market this morning, sir. I went down twice.
No cucumbers?
No, sir, not even for ready money.
Thank you, Lane. That will do.
Thank you, sir. No cucumber sandwiches.
I am greatly distressed, Aunt Augusta, about there being no cucumbers. Not even for ready money.
Really, it makes no matter, Algernon. I had some crumpets with Lady Harbury, who seems to me to be living entirely for pleasure now.
I hear her hair turned quite gold from grief.
It certainly has changed colour. From what cause, of course, I can't say. I've quite a treat for you tonight, Algernon. I'm going to send you down with Mary Farquhar. She is such a nice young woman, and so attentive to her husband. It's delightful to watch them.
I am afraid, Aunt Augusta, I shall have to give up the great pleasure of dining with you tonight after all.
I hope not, Algernon. It would put my table completely out. Your uncle would have to dine upstairs. Fortunately, he's accustomed to that.
It is a great bore, but the fact is I've just received a telegram that my poor friend Bunbury is very ill. They seem to think I should be with him.
It's very strange. This Mr. Bunbury seems to suffer from curiously bad health.
Yes, poor Bunbury is a dreadful invalid.
Well, I must say, Algernon, I think it is high time that Mr. Bunbury decided whether he was going to live or die. This shilly-shallying with the question is absurd. Nor do I in any way approve of this modern sympathy with invalids. I consider it morbid. Illness of any kind is hardly a thing to be encouraged in others. Health is the primary duty of life. I'm always telling that to your poor uncle, but he never seems to take any notice as far as improvements in his many ailments goes. I would be much obliged if you would ask Mr. Bunbury from me to be kind enough not to have a relapse on Saturday, for I rely on you to arrange my music for me. It is my last reception, and one wants something that will encourage conversation, particularly at the end of the season when one has practically said whatever one has to say.
Aren't weak to bum around Augusta. He'll be still conscious. And I think I can promise you he'll be quite all right on Saturday. However, the music is a great difficulty, but I'll run over the program I've gone out if you'll follow me into the next room for a minute.
Thank you, Algernon. It is very thoughtful of you. I'm sure the program will be delightful after a few expurgations. Gwendolyn, you will follow.
Certainly, Mamma.
Charming day it has been, Miss Fairfax!
Pray, don't talk to me about the weather, Mr. Worthing. Whenever people talk to me about the weather, I always feel quite certain they mean something else. And that makes me so nervous.
But I do mean something else.
I thought so.
And I would like to be allowed to take advantage of Lady Granville's temporary absence.
I would certainly advise you to do so. Mamma has a way of coming back suddenly into rooms that I have often had to speak to her about.
Miss Fairfax, ever since I met you, I've admired you more than any girl I've ever met since I met you.
Yes, I'm quite aware of that fact. And I always wish that in public, at any rate, you had been more demonstrative. For me, you have always had an irresistible fascination. Why, even before I met you, I was far from indifferent to you. We live, as I hope you know, Mr. Worthing, in an age of ideals. The fact is constantly mentioned in the more expensive monthly magazines. And my ideal has always been to love a man of the name of Earnest. Why, there is something in that name that inspires absolute confidence. From the moment Algernon first mentioned to me that he had a friend called Ernest, I knew I was destined to love you.
You really love me, Gwendolyn?
Passionately.
Darling, you don't know how happy you've made me.
My own Ernest!
Of course, but you don't mean to say you couldn't love me if my name wasn't Ernest.
But your name is Ernest!
Yes, I know it is, but supposing it was something else. Do you mean to say you couldn't love me then?
Oh, well, that is clearly a metaphysical speculation. And, like all metaphysical speculations, has very little reference to the facts of real life.
Well, personally, Reuven, to be quite candid, I don't really care much for the name Ernest. I don't think the name suits me at all.
It suits you perfectly.
It is a divine name. It has music all its own. It produces vibrations.
Well, I must say there are lots of other nicer names, I think. Jack, for example. A charming name.
Jack? No. There is very little music in the name Jack. If any at all, indeed. It does not thrill. It produces absolutely no vibrations. I have known several Jacks, and they all, without exception, have been more than unusually plain. Besides, Jack is a notorious domesticity for John, and I pity any woman who has to be married to a man called John. She would probably never be allowed to know the entrancing pleasure of a single moment's solitude. No, the only really safe name is Earnest.
Gwendolyn, I must get christened at once. I mean, we must get married at once.
Married, Mr. Worthing?
Well, surely you know that I love you, and you led me to believe, Miss Fairfax, you are not absolutely indifferent to me.
I adore you. But you have not proposed to me yet. Nothing has